My sister faked my death for $5 million. Revenge drove me to crash the funeral and expose her betrayal. 3 months ago, I died in a tragic hiking accident at Cascade Falls. At least, that's what my sister Diana told everyone. The reality was far more complicated and much darker. I watched the local news report from a motel room 50 miles outside of Seattle, my coffee growing cold as the anchor solemnly described my fatal fall. Sarah Mitchell, 32, was reported missing after failing to return from a solo hiking trip, he said. After an extensive 3-day search, authorities discovered signs of a tragic accident near the Upper Falls. While no body has been recovered, experts believe survival would have been impossible given the conditions. The camera cut to Diana. Her perfect face was streaked with artfully applied tears. "She was my best friend," she sobbed. "My only sister. I can't believe she's gone." I turned off the TV, my hands shaking with anger. Best friend, right? That would explain why she had taken out a $5 million life insurance policy on me 2 months before my accident. The truth was, I hadn't been anywhere near Cascade Falls that day. I had been in my Seattle apartment, preparing for a business trip to Phoenix, when I received the call that changed everything. "Ms. Mitchell?" The voice had been professional, cautious. "This is Agent Cooper with the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. Do you have a moment to discuss your sister, Diana Mitchell?" That call had saved my life. Agent Cooper had evidence that Diana had been planning my death for months. Bank records showing massive debt. A newly purchased life insurance policy with herself as the sole beneficiary, suspicious internet searches about untraceable poisons and accidents that look natural. "We believe your sister may be planning to harm you," Agent Cooper had said. "We need your help to catch her before she succeeds." And so began my death. A carefully orchestrated disappearance, staged to look exactly like what Diana had been planning. The FBI helped me vanish, leaving just enough evidence at Cascade Falls to make my accident convincing. For 3 months, I watched from the shadows as Diana played her role perfectly, the grieving sister, devastated by loss but bravely carrying on. She had even started a foundation in my name, though I had no doubt where that money was really going. Now, sitting in my motel room with case files spread across the bed, I was finally ready to come back to life. The insurance company had deposited the funds that morning. Agent Cooper confirmed it over the phone. $5 million straight into her account, she said. "We have the transfer records, and the foundation donations are already traced to offshore accounts. Your sister's been busy." I picked up a photo taken just yesterday, Diana at a luxury car dealership, writing a check for a new Mercedes. Grieving in style. "The funeral's tomorrow," I said. "Everything ready?" Agent Cooper asked. "Teams are in position. Just remember to wait for my signal before you make your entrance." I smiled, thinking of Diana's face when she saw me. "Oh, don't worry. I want this to be perfect." Perfect, like Diana had always been. Perfect grades, perfect hair, perfect life. While I was the awkward one, the plain one, the one who had to work twice as hard for half the recognition. Our parents' death 5 years ago had only widened the gap. Diana had gotten the lion's share of the inheritance naturally, the golden child. I had gotten just enough to start my own business, a small tech consulting firm that had finally started to become successful. Too successful, apparently. Diana had borrowed heavily against her inheritance, making risky investments that didn't pay off. By the time she took out the life insurance policy on me, she was nearly bankrupt. I had never seen it coming. That was what hurt the most. Even knowing how shallow and self-centered she was, I had never imagined she would try to kill her own sister for money. A knock at the motel room door made me jump. Agent Cooper stood outside, a garment bag over her arm. "Thought you might want to dress appropriately for your own funeral," she said, hanging the bag on the door. Inside was a sleek black dress, elegant but understated, perfect for a ghost returning to haunt her killer. The wires built into the neckline were completely invisible but would pick up everything, along with the cameras. She handed me a pair of designer sunglasses with built-in recording. Everything would be captured from my perspective. I tried them on, studying my reflection. With my dark hair pulled back severely and dramatic makeup, I barely recognized myself. Good. The less I looked like the old Sarah, the more dramatic the reveal would be. "Your sister hired someone to help stage the accident," Cooper said, watching me prepare. "A local guide who was supposed to verify seeing you on the trail that day. He rolled over on her the moment we showed him the evidence. His testimony alone would convict her. But that's not enough, is it? I turned from the mirror. You want her to confess on camera, wearing a wire with 50 witnesses? Cooper nodded. No wiggle room, no legal gray areas, just pure, incontrovertible proof of premeditated fraud and attempted murder. I thought of all the times Diana had overshadowed me, dismissed me, treated me like an afterthought in her perfect life. Tomorrow she would learn just how big a mistake she had made in underestimating me. Get some sleep, Cooper advised. Tomorrow's going to be intense. But sleep was impossible. I spent the night reviewing the evidence, making sure every detail was perfect, bank statements showing the money trail, emails between Diana and the guide discussing the accident, the life insurance policy taken out with forged signatures and backdated documents. Most damning of all were the text messages we had recovered from Diana's cloud backup, messages to her boyfriend Marcus laying out the whole plan. Sarah's finally worth more dead than alive, she had written. Once the insurance pays out, we'll have everything we ever wanted. Marcus, to his credit, had been horrified. He had broken up with her immediately and gone straight to the FBI. His statement was part of the evidence package. Dawn found me still awake, watching the sun rise over the Seattle skyline. In 6 hours, I would be attending my own funeral. In 7, my sister's life would implode. The church was one of those grand old buildings in the historic district, all Gothic spires and stained glass. Diana had chosen it for maximum dramatic effect, no doubt. The parking lot was already full when we arrived. She had invited hundreds of people to witness her performance. Remember, Cooper said as we parked a block away. Wait for my signal. We need her to incriminate herself before you make your entrance. I nodded, adjusting my sunglasses. Through the tiny camera, I could see the funeral guests arriving in their somber best. Many were crying. Diana had clearly sold my death well. There she is, Cooper pointed. Diana emerged from a black limousine, stunning in designer morning wear. Her blonde hair was artfully tousled, her makeup perfect despite the tears. She clutched Marcus's mother's arm as if she could barely walk from grief. Marcus himself was conspicuously absent. He had refused to participate in this farce. Audio check, a voice said in my hidden earpiece. Testing 1, 2. Receiving, I spoke softly. Cameras online. All units in position, another voice confirmed. This was really happening. After 3 months of hiding, of watching my sister profit from my death, I was about to turn her world upside down. You okay? Cooper asked, noting my expression. I thought about Diana's text messages planning my murder, about the fake grief, the stolen money, the sheer calculated cruelty of it all. I'm perfect, I said. Let's go hunt my sister. The funeral service was exactly as grandiose as I had expected from Diana. White lilies covered every surface. My supposed favorite flower, though she had never bothered to learn that I actually preferred sunflowers. A massive portrait of me dominated the altar, clearly photoshopped to match Diana's preferred image of her sister. Guest count is over 300, Agent Cooper murmured in my earpiece as we watched from our hidden position in the church's side entrance. Your sister really went all out. Of course she did, I whispered back. She's playing the role of a lifetime. Through my camera-equipped sunglasses, I recorded everything, the grieving faces, many of whom I barely recognized, the expensive flower arrangements with cards proclaiming in loving memory, the donation box for the fraudulent foundation Diana had started in my name. Target approaching microphone, another agent reported. Showtime. Diana glided to the podium like an actress taking center stage. Her black Chanel dress probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. The insurance money was clearly already being put to use. My beloved sister, she began, her voice trembling perfectly. My Sarah, my best friend. I had to admire her performance, the slight catch in her voice, the elegant dab at her eyes with a monogrammed handkerchief. It was masterful. Sarah was more than just my sister, Diana continued. She was my rock, my conscience, my greatest supporter. Through my earpiece, I heard Agent Cooper snort softly. We had both read the text messages where Diana had called me a useless burden and plotted my death. When she went missing that day, Diana's voice broke beautifully. I knew something was wrong. Sarah was so careful, so responsible. She would never have taken risks on that trail. Actually, I was an experienced hiker who tackled much harder trails than Cascade Falls. But Diana had never bothered to learn that about me either. The foundation we've started in her name, she went on, will help other families dealing with similar tragedies. Already, your generous donations have made such a difference. Money transfer confirmed, an FBI analyst reported in my earpiece. Another 100,000 moved offshore this morning. I smiled coldly. Diana hadn't wasted any time laundering the foundation money through her network of shell companies. I just wish... Diana dabbed her eyes again. I just wish I'd been able to say goodbye, to tell her how much I loved her. Target is moving to phase 2, Cooper murmured. Get ready. Right on cue. Diana's voice strengthened with false resolve. But Sarah wouldn't want us to dwell in sadness. She'd want us to celebrate her life. That's why, in her memory, I'm announcing a new initiative. She went on to describe an elaborate charitable program that would never exist. More ways to collect donations, more schemes to steal money in my name. We've got it all, Cooper confirmed. The foundation fraud, the insurance scam, everything. Time for phase 3. I watched as one of our undercover agents approached the podium and handed Diana a note. Her performance didn't slip for a second as she read it. Oh, she said softly into the microphone. I've just been informed that they may have found something at the falls. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. This was the moment Diana had planned carefully, a dramatic announcement that would cement the story of my death and eliminate any lingering questions. The search teams, her voice shook. They discovered evidence, personal items, that confirm... She pressed the handkerchief to her mouth. That confirm my beloved sister is truly gone. The congregation erupted in fresh grief. Diana sank gracefully into her seat, accepting comfort from the wealthy socialites she had invited to witness her performance. All units in position, Cooper said tersely, waiting for the signal. I watched through my camera as Diana leaned close to one of her friends, whispering something that made them both smile slightly, probably already planning how to spend more of my insurance money. The insurance company's fraud department is standing by, another agent reported. They're ready to freeze the accounts on your word. Diana stood again, moving back to the podium. This was it, the final act of her performance, the part where she would give a touching speech about accepting closure and moving forward, about honoring my memory through her foundation. Sarah would be so touched by this outpouring of love, she began, by your generosity, your support. Now, Cooper said firmly, go. I took a deep breath and stepped through the side door. The first person to notice me was an elderly woman in the back row. Her gasp was audible even over Diana's speech. Then another person saw me, and another. The whispers spread like wildfire through the congregation. Diana, caught up in her performance, didn't notice at first. And though we may never fully recover from this loss, she continued. Diana, I said clearly, my voice carrying through the church's perfect acoustics. I think you've recovered just fine. The new Mercedes proves that. She froze. Her perfect mask slipped, revealing naked shock, and something else, fury. Then she screamed. It wasn't the practiced, elegant cry of her performance. This was raw, primal, real. She staggered back from the podium as I walked slowly up the center aisle. No, she whispered. No, this isn't possible. What's wrong, sister? I asked pleasantly. You look like you've seen a ghost. You're dead, she said. You're dead. I made sure. She cut herself off, but it was too late. The words hung in the air like a confession. You made sure, I repeated, still advancing. Made sure how, exactly? By hiring someone to verify my presence on a trail I never visited? By forging documents? By planning my accident down to the last detail? I don't know what you're talking about, she tried to recover. Sarah, I've been so worried. Where have you been? Cut the act, I said coldly. The FBI has everything, the insurance fraud, the foundation scam, the text messages planning my murder. On cue, Agent Cooper and her team emerged from their positions around the church. Diana's eyes darted between them like a trapped animal. This is ridiculous, she laughed nervously. There's clearly been a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding, I said, reaching the podium, was you thinking you could get away with this. I turned to face the shocked congregation. My sister took out a $5 million life insurance policy on me 2 months ago. She hired someone to help fake my death. She's been stealing donation money through a fraudulent foundation. And now, I smiled coldly at Diana, now she's going to face the consequences. You can't prove anything, she hissed. I tapped my sunglasses. Actually, I just did. This entire conversation is being recorded. including your little slip about making sure I was dead." The color drained from her face. "Ms. Diana Mitchell," Agent Cooper stepped forward, badge displayed. "You're under arrest for insurance fraud, wire fraud, and conspiracy to commit murder." As Cooper began reading Diana her rights, I surveyed the gathered crowd, the shocked faces, the dawning understanding, the cameras already coming out to record this spectacular moment. Diana had wanted an audience for her performance. Now she had one for her downfall. It was perfect. "Diana Mitchell, how do you plead?" The courtroom was packed 3 months after my funeral. Diana stood at the defendant's table wearing a carefully chosen pale blue suit that made her look younger, more vulnerable. Her attorney had clearly coached her on appearance. Gone were the designer labels and perfect makeup. This was Diana 2.0, the misunderstood sister. "Not guilty, Your Honor." I sat in the front row, directly in her line of sight. She hadn't looked at me once since being let in. The evidence against her was overwhelming. The FBI had built an airtight case, bank records, text messages, emails, witness testimony from the guide she had hired, and most damning of all, the video from my funeral where she had accidentally confessed. But Diana had never admitted defeat gracefully. Her defense was creative, I had to give her that. According to her lawyer, she had been the victim here. She claimed I had orchestrated the whole thing to frame her, that I had faked my own death to destroy her life and steal her inheritance. The insurance policy forged by me, the text messages planted, the offshore accounts, all my doing. The prosecution calls Sarah Mitchell to the stand. I walked to the witness box, feeling Diana's eyes finally fix on me with barely concealed hatred. "Ms. Mitchell," the prosecutor began, "please tell us about the events leading up to your alleged death." For the next hour, I laid out the whole story. The FBI's warning, the evidence they had shown me of Diana's planning, the careful operation to catch her in the act. "And why," the prosecutor asked, "did you agree to participate in this sting operation instead of simply confronting your sister?" I looked directly at Diana for the first time, because I couldn't believe it was true. I needed to understand why my own sister would want me dead. "Objection," Diana's lawyer shot up. "Speculation about my client's intentions." "Sustained," the judge ruled. "The jury will disregard that last statement." But I had seen several jurors' expressions. They had heard what they needed to hear. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Every day revealed new details of Diana's scheme. The insurance agent testified about the forged policy documents. The hiking guide described how she had paid him to lie about seeing me on the trail. Marcus, Diana's ex-boyfriend, detailed the conversations where she had planned my accident. Through it all, Diana maintained her innocent act, tears at appropriate moments, confused looks when damning evidence was presented, hurt glances at me as if she couldn't understand why her beloved sister would do this to her. It might have worked, if not for the video. On the final day of testimony, the prosecution played the complete recording from my funeral. The camera, in my sunglasses, had captured everything in perfect clarity: Diana's performance, her shock at seeing me, and most importantly, her damning words. "You're dead, I made sure." The jury took less than 2 hours to reach a verdict. On the charge of conspiracy to commit murder, we find the defendant guilty. Diana's perfect mask cracked. On the charge of insurance fraud, we find the defendant guilty. Her fingers gripped the table until her knuckles went white. On the charge of wire fraud, we find the defendant guilty. A small sound escaped her, something between a gasp and a snarl. As the judge prepared to announce sentencing, Diana finally snapped. "You ruined everything!" she screamed, turning to face me. "It was perfect. I had it all planned. You were supposed to die, and I was supposed to—" "Ms. Mitchell," the judge thundered, "control yourself or you will be removed." But Diana was beyond control. 20 years of carefully maintained facade crumbled in an instant. "You were nothing!" she shrieked as bailiffs moved to restrain her. "Just a burden, a nobody. I deserved that money. I deserved—" They dragged her out, her screams echoing through the courthouse. The judge called a brief recess to restore order. Agent Cooper touched my arm. "You okay?" I nodded, watching the door where Diana had disappeared. I finally got my answer about why she did it, and about who she really is. The sentencing, when it came, was severe. 25 years for conspiracy to commit murder. 10 years each for the fraud charges to be served consecutively. No possibility of parole for at least 30 years. Diana's perfect life was over. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited with cameras and microphones. Ms. Mitchell, how does it feel to send your own sister to prison? Any comment on the foundation money still missing? Will you be writing a book about your experience? I stopped at the top of the steps, considering my response carefully. My sister died long before she tried to kill me, I said finally. I just didn't want to see it. Today isn't about revenge or justice. It's about truth. And sometimes the truth hurts worse than any lie. 6 months later, I stood at Cascade Falls watching the water thunder down. The place where I was supposed to die had become something of a tourist attraction after the trial. People took selfies trying to spot where the accident was meant to happen. My tech consulting firm had flourished. Ironically enough, the publicity from the trial had brought in new clients, people who appreciated someone who could spot complex fraud schemes. The insurance money had been returned, the foundation dissolved, and Diana's offshore accounts frozen. She had lost everything: money, freedom, reputation. Her perfect image shattered beyond repair. I had received a letter from her last week, the first contact since her sentencing. Just 2 lines. I would have given you half if you had just died like you were supposed to. Think about that while you enjoy your victory. I had burned the letter without responding. Some relationships couldn't be fixed. Some betrayals went too deep. My phone buzzed. Agent Cooper checking in, as she still did occasionally. Heard from our mutual friend? She texted. Just more poison, I replied. You know, most people would be more traumatized by all this. I looked out at the falls, thinking about strength and survival and the strange ways life tests us. Most people, I texted back, haven't had to attend their own funeral. A family of hikers passed by, the children pointing excitedly at the waterfall. Their mother held their hands tightly, keeping them safe from the edge. Sisters, I noticed, about the same age difference as Diana and me. Be careful up there, I called out. The view can be deceiving. The mother smiled gratefully, pulling her girls back from the railing. They continued up the trail, their laughter carrying on the wind. I took one last look at the falls before turning away. Diana had chosen this place to end my story. Instead, it had become the beginning of a new one. My phone buzzed again, work this time. A potential new client worried about financial irregularities in their family business. I have some experience with that, I told them, walking back to my car. Let me show you what to look for. The sun was setting as I drove away from Cascade Falls, painting the sky in shades of gold and purple. In my rearview mirror, the waterfall diminished until it was just a distant roar. Some people spend their whole lives pretending to be something they're not. Diana had pretended to be the perfect sister while plotting my death. I had pretended not to see her true nature until it almost killed me. Now we were both exactly who we were meant to be. She was inmate number 247,891, serving 30 years for trying to kill her sister. And I was alive, successful, free. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just surviving, it's thriving. As I merged onto the highway, a familiar song came on the radio. One Diana and I used to sing as children, back when we were just sisters, before money and jealousy and murder plots complicated everything. I switched it off. Some ghosts are better left unsung. Looking back on everything that happened, I still catch myself staring out windows, half expecting Diana to walk through the door with that dazzling smile she used to flash whenever she wanted something. The ache isn't loud anymore, it's quiet, like a bruise that no longer hurts when you press it but still darkens the skin. I thought coming back from the dead would feel like victory. Instead, the first thing I felt was emptiness. For 3 months I had been a ghost, watching my own life from motel rooms and surveillance feeds. When I stepped into that church and saw the lilies, the photoshopped portrait, the donation box with my name on it, something inside me cracked open. All those years I had measured myself against her perfection, her grades, her friends, her effortless charm, and suddenly I realized I had never truly known her at all. The sister I mourned had never existed. I had spent my childhood loving a performance. The nights after the arrest were the hardest. I would wake up gasping, convinced I was still hiding, still waiting for a poison that would never come. Agent Cooper kept checking in, but even her steady voice couldn't fill the hollow space where family used to be. I kept replaying Diana's scream in court, "You were nothing!" Those words should have stung, yet they freed me. For the first time I saw clearly I was never the problem. Her jealousy, her greed, her endless need to be the only star in the sky, those were the burdens she carried, not me. Anger came in waves, then ebbed into something gentler, pity. I pitied the little girl who believed love was a competition she had to win at any cost. I pitied the woman who thought $5 million could buy the warmth our parents used to give away for free. Burning her letter felt like closing a book I had reread too many times. Now, when I stand at Cascade Falls and watch the water roar down the rocks, I don't feel fear. I feel alive in a way I never did before. The trial gave me justice. The months since have given me peace. My company is thriving, yes, but the real gift is simpler. I finally like the woman in the mirror. She's not awkward or plain. She's the one who spotted the lie, who walked through her own funeral, who chose truth over blood. I still miss having a sister. Some days the longing sneaks up on me in grocery aisles or old photographs, but I have learned that family isn't only the people we're born to. Sometimes it's the truth we fight for, the friends who stay, the life we build when the old one shatters. Diana is serving 30 years. I am serving the rest of my life, out in the open, under my own name, with a heart that no longer apologizes for taking up space. The falls keep falling, the sun keeps rising, and I keep walking forward. Some ghosts are better left unsung, but the song I sing now is entirely my own, and for the first time it feels like enough.